Welcome back, all my 40K fanatics out there. I'm DJ here with Tim's Nation to bring you my list that will be taking on Lane in our Rock'em Sock'em Robots battle this evening. He's going to be bringing some Death Watch robots, and I'll let him talk about those in a little bit. But for me, I'm going to be bringing Adeptus Mechanicus, the one army that I've yet to feature in 10th edition on this channel yet, that I've played a little bit in 9th edition. And I know they're kind of underrepresented, not really doing as good in the competitive meta, but that does not mean I don't love my bots any less. So tonight's going to be a Rock'em Sock'em battle, and this is my Rock'em list that's going to be taking on his robots. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do. Turn the bell for notifications to get notified on the battle report, as well as Lane's description of his army when it comes live later on today. So guys, with all that being said, let's get over into the list itself, talk about some of the technical side of it, and more or less try and get a refresher course on what Mechanicus can even do in 10th edition. Let's take a look. All right, so this is my AdMech that I'm going to be bringing tonight. My Rock'em to Lane Sock'em, or what I'm going to be rocking him with. So this is the list. Let's start off first, though, with a little bit about AdMech. Our detachment ability is very unique and weird, and I'm very interested to see how this plays out. So this detachment, AdMech, has the Rad Bombardment. So during the first battle round, I'm going to do some mortal wounds, hopefully, to units that are in Lane's deployment zone. And then over the course of the rest of the game, I can do a single mortal wound to units that remain in his deployment zone. So that's an interesting ability that I just get free damage for taking AdMech. So I'm definitely curious to see how that plays out, see how much damage and a factor that actually takes into it. Lone operative and stuff like that really can't get around it because I'm just targeting. It's just an ability that hits units that are left in the deployment zone. So that'll be interesting. I'm definitely very interested to see. I know that early on, there was a lot of talk about how powerful that ability was. So I want to see that on the table. I want to see how it does, since there's been a lot less talk about AdMech, even with that ability. All right, so start things off with the non-robots of my army. We're going to start off with the Scorpius tanks. So the Scorpius tanks, I am taking them with the Belarus cannon, and that's because it's artillery. And even though we suffer all the normal modifiers that artillery really have and have to get around those, it's still artillery. It's still a way for me to be able to hit units that I can't see. And being the fact that I really only have one infantry in this army, I definitely can take advantage of that factor to be able to get units in ruins that I otherwise wouldn't be able to hit, and just make my opponent roll dice and, hey, pick out models that way. These guys also do have some great anti-tank abilities and some great anti-tank fire. And I love these tanks. I feel like they're much, much better in this edition than they were in last, mostly because last edition artillery just got hammered so hard. And we see it every edition. Artillery is a tough spot, and being able to shoot at units you can't see is always a powerful ability in any army, in any edition. So it's really tough to find that fine balance where it's efficient weaponry and doesn't completely control the game, as we've seen with other artillery units. Desolation Marine, Hive Guard in 9th for Tyranid. So I think that these guys are all right. I think these guys hit that realm of being a bit of okay to be able to put that artillery shooting down and just do some damage for me to units that I might not otherwise be able to get to. All right, moving over to my Dragoons. Anyone who knows me knows I love me some Dragoons. I love my Dragoons to all passion. And these guys, they got hurt. They got hurt bad in the beginning of 10th edition, but that's okay, because we do have other detachments and stuff to come out that maybe these guys will see a little more love as we see more detachments. Right now, the Dragoons got reduced down in max squad size, being able to take 6 in previous iterations. Now you can only take 3. However, and in this matchup, this will matter, the Taser has anti-walker, which is something very unique. I haven't seen very many things have that. And being that Lane's going to be bringing a lots of bots, I'll actually get to see that hopefully be a factor, unless they just get shot off the field beforehand. These guys can fall back and charge, so they can take advantage of the Lance ability, and they have stealth. So we'll see how these guys do. losing a point of weapon skill is kind of harsh, but I can use stratagems on these guys, and on a 5-up, I get the command point back. So there might be some play. I want to see them on the table, being that they're vehicles, being that they're tall, and being the meta right now with Imperial Knights and Wraith Knights. Really going to be a hard sell for these guys. Moving over into a squad of robots, my only infantry, my Cataphren Breachers. So between the two, Destroyers and Breachers appealed to me the most. Mostly because of the fact that that heavy arc rifle is so mean. Also, Breachers tend to be more of the forward line guys, being a little bit tougher and a little harder to kill. I want something that can walk through walls. I want something that, as an infantry, can get through runes and be able to get on objectives that otherwise my rest of my army might have some difficulty doing, being that the most of it is vehicles. These guys are going to be led by a Tech Priest Dominus, who is going to have the enhancement, the Omni Sterilizer. So it's going to give him +3 shots, as well as anti-infantry 2-up, anti-monster 4-up. And he will be equipped with a Volkite Blaster. So that anti-effect will actually be very, very nice when looking at the devastating wounds this guy can dish out. I liked how last edition we had some relics that were better guns for the Tech Priest, to give us a Tech Priest that kind of had some guns and had some more value out of just being a buff or a glorified Tech Priest, to be able to do a little bit better repairs. So I really like to see that he's got a good gun, especially being a big fan of the Mechanicus video game, Mech versus Necrons. Being able to customize those guys and have some cool guns and cool shooting effects, I'm excited to use him. I'm definitely nerding out over that guy and see him on the field and see him in play. Not to mention him joining the Breachers, he gives them a 5-up Feel No Pain, which, that'll be real nice to helping to keep these guys around, especially because their role is going to be to try to get in on objectives that normally I wouldn't be able to, and my opponent might have different options. Lane may not exactly want me to come in there and start rocking his objectives. All right, now we get over to the big boys, my bread and butter, the Castellan robots. Castellan robots this is going to be real interesting with these guys. In previous edition, these guys were buckets and buckets of dice, where you would the shooting versions would roll so many dice. I remember way back when you could lock them down, and I think it was like 108 shots, I think it was, for 6 guys. So it literally was just buckets and buckets of dice that would pour off these guys, and people would just be like, don't stand in front of the robots, and that's your answer. Don't stand in front of them. Now the amount of shots has been significantly reduced, and we see that across the board with a lot of armies. Now, if you take the 2 hand cannons, instead of getting 6 shots, you only get 3, but they're twin linked. So we'll see how that rolls out, how that actually feels when we start to play the game with these guys and use them. But it is twin linked, so that's a benefit. The Castellan Fist, the guys with the claws, they are now twin linked. So where previous edition it was 3 attacks base and then you got 1 for each fist, now you're looking at 4 attacks in general, and then you're getting +1 for each of or you're just getting the twin linked effect. So okay, reroll failed wounds. We'll take it. That's not too bad. And I think the fists are really still strong at that 3 damage. The Phosphor Blaster and on their shoulder, as well as the hand cannons, ignores cover, which, I'm 50-50 on this one, because this is a unit that, and most of the guns, like the hand cannon, has AP 0. So ignoring cover versus 3-up save models isn't going to matter. So I'm on the fence on if I don't like that. Yes, stratagems can play into a factor with this, but we'll see how much that ignore cover really plays into it. And again, this is going to be slanted going into Marines, where other armies like Tyranids and lower armor saved guys would actually get the buff from being in cover, which will take away. So, it's tough to say, especially considering me going into Marines right now. I'm not looking at that zero AP mattering very much, but in other matchups, that ignore cover could play a big deal into it. Now, the units, both of these, are going to be led by a data smith, which is, I mean, logistically, it is an auto include. I think the only reason this guy isn't included is just so that we can have, they can pick us off with characters and be able to use precision weapons to take them out. So both of the data smiths are both going to have an enhancement. Let's start with this first. So both the data smiths, the data smith that is going to be with my 4 shooting robots, because one squad has all hand cannons, the other one is all fists. The one that has all hand cannons is going to have sustained hits. So I'm going to try and get my attacks back there with giving sustained hits from the enhancement. The other engine seer, the one that is going, I'm sorry, data smith that's going to be with the punchy bots, is going to have stealth to give these guys a little extra protection going up the field. Now, the data smiths will have a 4-up feel no pain because of the fact that they have the robotic bodyguard for the Castellan robot, as he will also be able to give a couple of boosts to the Castellan robots depending on which protocol is enacted. Now, in order to do the protocols in my command phase, I got to make a leadership test. That's going to be rough with that 7-up. But aside from that, as long as they pass it, I can shift over into a protocol, and it remains into effect until I change over to a different one. One of which gives me +2 attacks to a ranged weapon. Another one gives me +2 attacks to a Castellan robot's melee weapon. And the last one will give me bonus to my toughness, so that literally I could have a squad of 10-man, or a squad of toughness 10 robots, 4 guys, which is silly in all aspects. Not to mention these guys also, whenever they take a shot, this is only a ranged attacks. Whenever they make a 6 for their saving throw, which has changed over from last, because it used to be only when you made an invulnerable. So anytime these guys roll a 6 for a saving throw, the shooting unit takes a mortal wound. I love the fact that out of all the abilities, that's the one we got to keep. The data smith is the one who gets all of the perks for making these guys tougher, making these guys able to fight more, et cetera, et cetera. And at least the data smith is coming with a 4-up feel no pain to help if we get hit by some precision weapons and stuff like that. All right, guys, so that's what I'm going to be bringing against Lane today. He's got a whole bucket of bots that he's going to be bringing as well, his Sock'em list. And we'll see how this plays out. Neither one of us are going to be able to just breach through runes. I'm sure he'll have some infantry to be able to, but both of us are kind of going to be centralizing in the middle. So I think it's going to turn into a slugfest in the middle, some dreadnoughts versus some Castellan robots. So should be a fun game, should be entertaining to watch. I hope you guys enjoy, and we'll catch you over in the battle report. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.